without further ado, we do have another familiar element face, but is now the Global Analytics Officer at Vaynerx and a faculty member at NYU and Rice University. So JC does have more than 20 years of experience in data science solutions, strategic planning, and technology selection and implementation, which is very impressive. I can't say that I have that experience myself, so very accomplished guy. As a professor, his courses specialize in business analytics and applied data science. Super excited to hear what he has for us today after all the amazing presentations so far. Really looking forward to what he has. So go ahead and give him a hand for JC Bonilla.
Hi, everyone. It's cold, right? I know. Let's warm up. Let's warm up with math. This is a nerdy, mathy conversation. If you did not know, we were a little bit tricked by the title. It's all about math and analytics. So I hope it's going to be fun and engaging. My promise is that I'll try to talk technically. I'll use my hands a lot. And in the meantime, we'll figure out what this gets us. Half hour of a retrospective of what my journey has been the past year. That's really what I want to do in the next half hour. So, because I dwell between practice and in industry and academia, I need to start with a case, right? Which ad is better? Which ad is better, left or right? Taking too long. Aaron, left? Right. Who said right? Dr. McGetrick, you're the specialist here. Left or right?
I'm going to go with the right.
Brian, love you, man. How you doing? Left or right? Left? Based on a proprietary content model that I've developed for the past year, really fun, right is much better, almost by a factor of 2x. What you're seeing here is what I hope I can position as something that me, as an enrollment management professional for 20 years, I got wrong. That I went for the impressions. This ad, traditionally, the wonders of the world, right? Before we came to Vayner, we would always come and say, the more eyeballs, the better. Your marketing dollars and cents today are going to go to the left. But the new media channels, the TikToks of the world, reward the right. You know what is happening? Is the ratio of impressions, eyeballs, to this stuff, comments, shares, right? That's what Wanda was talking about as relevance. So what you're seeing here is a content model that actually ranks or rates relevance. I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here is to center on what I think I've got wrong for the past 20 years as I thought about analytics, enrollment management or enrollment analytics, and what I'm actually learning in working with Fortune 500 companies. So my introduction was set out, so I'm kind of this weird hybrid between academia and practice. And for the past year, past 3 years, I managed analytics here at Element. So a lot of things that you're seeing, a little bit of my fingerprints. But the journey that I've been doing in the past year is really centered around how do we do this marketing performance and how do we deploy measurement. So I'll be using the word measurement a ton today. This is just a little bit about me to really tell you, I think I know enrollment analytics really well. Actually, at Element, we teach a course, and today I got it wrong as we think about enrollment analytics, because I thought about quantifying things, students, right? Deposits, applications, prospects. And I never thought about the relationship of that to leading indicators. So what I mean with that, and we're going to be doing media math, very interesting, simple stuff that all of you will know. Open rates, engagement rate, all that kind of things, right? But it's this idea that I know, and you know, that probably one of the most effective tactics that you have is an event, right? An open house. Me, when I did enrollment management for, I don't know, almost 2 decades, I knew if the event was going to be successful, you know when? The day of the event, right? I never had a leading indicator that told me, shit, it's going to rain, so it's going to be a disaster. I just didn't link, weather. I kind of knew it, right? But there's a ton of things that we can come and extract from data, and I would know. By the way, did I just use the S word in life? Sorry, if I use the S word. Sorry, a little too candid. Anyway, my point is, I've been quantifying things for all my life. Look, I spent 80% of 79% of my life in academic settings. 58% of the time measuring things. I literally did the math. I'm 44, so you can extract how many years I've spent. And then 32% of that, of my life, has been in counting things in enrollment management. So I want to do a retrospective of what I've learned the past year. And more importantly, I want to give a proposal. If you leave today thinking, hey, I need to start working with my agency, whether it's in-house or outside, Spark or which other vendor you use, you need to start engaging with them differently. And I'm talking to you as if you have dollars and cents, a budget, and you need to make the most of that. So punchline is that I've spent only 2% of my time observing these brands. So I'm getting to know what's happening there. So I'm going to try to do this and this of what's happening in the Pepsi's, Planters, whipped creams of the world, to how we work in enrollment management. And there's two punchlines. Number one, measurement is integrated. We don't do that. When I spent $1 to recruit a student, I expected $1 creative and strategy. Literally, if I spent $1, I expected $1 worth of creative. That does not happen. And I want to explore how that looks like. I'm pretty sure you're liking where I'm going with this, Mike. Intentional measurement, right? Specifically what I call measurement by proxy, it's king. We measure directly. That means how many applications I have today, right? How many prospective students I have today, how many inquiries, how many students attended. That's direct measurement. But the most interesting thing is indirect measurement. And I'd like to give you an idea what this looks like. So the anatomy of marketing engagements. This is actually data from us, from Vayner, and we compete with a lot of agencies out there. So this is how a Fortune 500 company would actually spend money. For every dollar that they spend on advertisement, whether it's Pepsi, Super Bowl, or something small, 60% of that is what we see, and this is what we don't see, right? 40% of the investment that comes to an agency, it's not returned to the client. It's actually stays with them. And it's not that we're not trying to be efficient, it's something really, really important. We got a bunch of divas, we gotta manage them, but the project needs to be managed, right, somehow, so, and there's also overhead, things like that, but you see that measurement thing? 10% of the investment usually comes back to my unit so we can do measurement or analytics. And this is a dramatically different viewpoint that I never thought of. For many years, I keep on talking to Mike because we work a lot of times together doing marketing. We looked at data or measurement as maybe once in a year retrospective before we went into planning. And what I'm telling you is that the integrated, the co-deployment of creative strategy and analytics is where it's at. So what is the philosophy of measurement? Left-hand side, left-hand side is going to be where I'm looking at to the world today, and the right-hand side is the world that all of us represent. The dollars are driven towards an objective. It coexists, measurement and analytics, right? To really look at marketing performance, it must coexist with the initiative that you're doing. It doesn't come the weekend before we do planning, right? It's not the end of the semester. It's not a counting exercise of how many applications I got, how many prospects, and then you do the ratio, and then you have your conversion rate. It's not like that. It's literally, we learn this, go and optimize the marketing, change the event, the email campaign, whatever tactic you're deploying, it's literally learning from the measurement that you're doing. So what I know today is that we have a retrospective view in measurement, and it's literally, how do I invest money to get a student, as opposed to what is my objective? And that's different, and it gives us, in analytics or measurement, a nicer or smaller way to come and deploy measurement. So yes, there's a funnel. We'll talk about funnel as awareness, brand building, consideration, and conversion, right? But the important thing is that every funnel, and by the way, of course, we translate awareness and branding as prospectus or inquiries. Consideration, we'll talk about applications and enrollments at the end. But the important thing is that for every stage, there are standard KPIs, metrics that everyone knows are the undisputable metrics. I knew of this, but I never worked with my marketing department, to come and say, what are the cost per view that generated an application? I never had that conversation. I only knew that I had, 5% conversion rate from application to, from prospect to application, end of story. And I used that to model, but I never linked that to the trafficking onto the website, how much time someone spent on the website. All that behavioral data that actually Element extracts for you, it's gigantic, so you can start getting a lead indicator of what the applicant pool is going to look like, right? And what you start seeing in these KPIs that I'm going to try to unfold is we just get an idea what the number is going to look like. And this is, I think, the biggest leap that I see today, that if you're spending $200,000 or $200, it doesn't matter the investment, you have an idea how it's going to perform. And that is gigantically different to how I remember working and probably how your day-to-day looks like. The funding, it's integrated, as I mentioned, right? And there's something that I really find to be rewarding and interesting is that majority of our the clients that we work for, their bonuses or incentives, right, are tied to how well these marketing dollars do. A CMO, usually her bonus or his bonus is tied to ROAS or some type of metric around here. We don't have that, right? So most of you, fortunately or unfortunately, do not have a variable salary, and in many schools it's actually illegal to do that. But there's a natural incentive to make this work. So the quest for measurement, it's an incentive, because the better it does, the more money they actually get at the end of the year, right? We see something different. Usually it's out of scope. No, I mean, you give me the report, and it comes every 3 weeks as a slide deck, right? And then I just saw it, and now I know, right? That's what I would call out of scope. But more importantly, I see reporting and insight as a check mark that we need to do towards IPEPS reporting, right? The grant that we use to recruit these students have a requirement. So we get the data, fetch the data, so we can actually check a box, compliance type of thing. So that philosophy is changing. So as managers, as much as you can, figure this out within the legal framework that you have, because the incentives, I mean, thinking, I don't know, 15 years ago, my gosh, what if I gave my graduate assistants a lunch for, performance that related to things that they were controlling as ambassadors or, tours. I gamified the whole thing, but it's a system of incentives. Make sense? That system is working really well. I did not know how big this industry is, measurement and analytics. And this slide has 2 points. First, look at this. The sector that I represent now is almost $3 billion. There is a ton of money in marketing analytics. In higher education, we're getting just started, in my opinion, to talk that. It was maybe 10 years ago that predictive modeling really made a mark, and now everyone's talking about predictive modeling. This is way beyond that. We talk about big numbers. And you'll probably hear about Nielsen and how they do their, their sensing and, panel data. There's 2 ways to start approaching this. You either buy very expensive services to do measurement, or you have it developed within your own specialization. So vendors and ad agencies are basically stacking up to do this. Technology is also at this, I think that the biggest opportunity that we have in higher education is the Element play, where we start seeing a lot of the analytics being delivered to us. So technology is reducing this gap. However, it's on us to to learn how do we use that insight and redeploy it into better events, better marketing, just basically using the insight and send it back to our tactical output. The focus. I find that, let's start here. We talk about funnel, but it's all about conversions, right? I knew my yield every month, and that was sophistication, right? Or that is still sophistication. If I actually can decompose my yield, right, from applications or from mids to yield at a monthly basis, right? What we're only talking about is if I have 50 students here, right, and I have now 5, right, what is the drop-off, right? It's ratios. That's fine. But what we're talking about is a full funnel view, right? And at the center is consumer behavior. This idea that if I am spending more time in the website, that means something, right? If I am, if my cost of generating a lead is becoming more expensive, that also means something, right? This data that it's tracked in analytics, Google Analytics, or many other platforms, it's very, very, very meaningful. And at the platform level, Facebook, TikToks of the world, Instagrams, they just give you so much details that today I spent a lot of my time trying to learn how to operationalize. And when I was here, that's not my role. So I think the focus of measurement is to leverage a lot of this behavioral data that we observe in platforms so I can bring it forward, and then it aids in my conversion rates. So as we think about how measurement and analytics gets deployed for marketing performance, did people see it? That's the traditional model. Did people care? It's the turn of impressions into relevance. And what I think is happening in this second part of this statement is centered around practices that sound like what Wanda is talking about. Understanding that me, the user, the consumer, or the student, I do not fix, I don't fit a box. And I could be in 3 different boxes, right? I love Wanda's analogy that the mom, the professional, and the friend, 3 different people. You couldn't describe it more, right? The example that I use is my brother and I. We both fit the same box. Hispanics, same age, religion, food. I mean, all the social graph all the demographic graph is the same. But we couldn't be more different people. So relevance, it's where we're at. And technology has solved this problem. Let me repeat that. Technology has solved this problem. We can get everyone to see it. I mean, it's an issue of money, of course, but assuming that you have resources that are, infinite, you can put a Super Bowl ad, right? Sunday was at the beach, one of our beautiful schools with a banner on a airplane, right? Open house, University XYZ, right? I literally looked at it and I thought to myself, people see it? I don't think people care, right? But this is all human because technology has actually crossed that limit. We are able to mine and deploy relevance. It's just that somehow in our practice, our resources, the human component is what kind of gets on the way. What I'm showing here is actually a slide of something we'll present to a client. This is a measurement framework for organic content, right? So what I'd like to explain this to you in a minute is not that so you understand it, is that you need to have these conversations with whomever is doing your marketing. There has to be a measurement framework that basically links what you're going to be doing paid, organic, or whatever your tactic is. For example, this is organic, right? We know that brand relevance, brand is built on social. We know that you're going to be doing organic content, right? it's hard to get someone to really pay attention to it, and it's highly unlikely it's going to go viral. You're going to get maybe 400 or 500 impressions on a TikTok, so it better work. So there's 3 things that you're looking for. Number 1, are you building connections? This is where you have your students maybe walk campus, and then they go to a cafeteria and they showcase what they're eating today, right? You're doing that in support of a cohort that maybe is interested in the educational experience as it relates to nutrition. So this student is all about veggies and, I don't know, keto diet, whatever, right? But now you have a strategy, and it's about deploying organic content that way. So the question is it creating community? How do you know that? Followers. You had 5 followers, tomorrow you have 6. You're going in the right direction. Literally is that way. So now every time you get the report, I'm developing followers, and now you're developing community. This is important to us because agencies like us, we get hired to do virality. So more to come here, but this idea of are we creating relevant cultural moments towards virality, right? But let's go over here. And this is something that we will do in Vayner, but this idea of is the content contextual? For those of you who are in social platforms, a TikTok that is successful, you just don't grab it and put it on Instagram and it works. There's something really inherent in how Facebook consumes, videos or produces videos or diffuses videos as it relates to Twitter or TikTok or LinkedIn. And this is what this is all about. Having a strategy and a measurement of this should work for Facebook, and indeed it worked for Facebook. That student that you sent to the cafeteria to do a video, it's going to be crude video. Don't put that in LinkedIn. But in TikTok, it may be fantastic, right? Because as a platform, it allows you to have that type of thing. So how do you develop engagements, and specifically meaningful engagements? It's what you use to say that content is being successful. So just as a framework, if you're doing organic or paid or whatever your strategy is, you must have a measurement framework that you're going to go and abide with. And hopefully today I'm going to give you a proposal of how to start thinking about it with your funnel. Last thing that I want to do in this, where I'm at today and how I understand our sector, is the aspect of benchmarks. Every project that we do for a brand has a benchmark that sets itself against, and we hold ourselves accountable to it. Did I reach my 15% engagement rate? Yes, wonderful. Maybe bonuses are given to the CMO or whatever. No, someone is in trouble. I find benchmarks to exist, and I think we do well in higher education because it's rank-based. So whatever classification you have, you know that your admissibility or your applicant pool, it's going to be very regional, things of that sort. What I think we have not done the leap is, all right, if I am a tier 2 university, right, faith-based, and I operate in the Northeast, my engagement rate in Facebook should be 12%. Having that level of sophistication, it's vital. So for example, an engagement that we start with starts like this. We will tell a client, all right, you're buying our services for these 5 platforms. You should reach in 2 weeks these numbers. And by the way, they're not astronomically good. A 3.5 engagement rate in TikTok is not that fantastic. But from working with 20 other clients, that's what we see, right? Or we come and we say for Facebook, it should be 2.75. That is the level of accountability that we literally start holding ourselves accountable towards, right? The other thing I like to point out here is you start thinking about benchmarks. There's also a qualitative aspect of benchmarking. Creative and strategy, sometimes it's hard to pin on a number. So we will have a rubric of qualitative assessment towards creative. Was that creative an A, a B, or a C, or an F? And it's literally a perception of, hey, that creative speaks of my brand, the school, it has the attributes I want to send, and it did well. And it gets passed on. Every creative is measured that way, and now basically this is what you're going for. Oh, there was one more, I apologize. Big one that I've appreciated working with is the intentionality of we're going to do something and learn. These are the levers. We have a hypothesis. We have an idea that the brand, the institution, the audience is going to react well to that. Did it, right? And then having that really spelled out experimentation, it's something that I never really explore here. And if we did it, it was mostly direct measurement. It only worked in applications. But it takes 6 months, or sometimes in an undergraduate program, 18 months to generate an application. So you don't have the horizon to come and say that tactic or creative, having the professor speak at the lab actually worked. Linking them to smaller metrics, it's easier because you can have a 1-week turnaround. Then what's the hypothesis? That as engagement rate grows, because now you have your benchmark, you will know whether your experimentation is working. So in this case, Professor Smith and the lab doing some experiments is actually creating more engagement in Facebook. Professor Smith, you're hired. Let's do 20 more videos. But when you linked it to that direct measurement, which is number of enrollments, oh my gosh, you have to wait 1 year, and then by then it's too late to come and do more continuous type of framework. So let me wrap this up in 5 so we can do some questions. Punchline, indirect measurements, or measurements by proxies, are fundamental. We count registrations or applications, whatever is here at the bottom of the funnel. But what I'm telling you is that in platform, sure, you can look at inquiries and it tells you a proxy of how many applications you're going to have. But don't leave the opportunity to look at time spent on a website as a proxy of applications. Very simple, right? For 20 years, with my technical background, I never made that leap. You know who has taught me this? A lot of really fancy brands have put a lot of money on us, and that's what they want. And that's how true marketing performance basically becomes a feeding mechanism to what we do. At Recall, true case, right? Element is a brand that is expanding. We started these conferences about 3 or 4 years ago, right? There were 7 of us. Now there's, I don't know, like 300 and I don't know, a bunch of friends online. How is the brand recall of Element? How is your brand recall? Have you ever done any work like that? I've never did anything like that at NYU, where I actually served an ad, and then in platform I came and asked someone, do you remember the ad you saw yesterday? And if the answer is no, then the brand has not done its job. Brand recall will increase your prospects. Simple. But we don't do this type of experimentation, and that's basically the shift that we need to start doing. I have a whole section, and I'm happy to talk to you more about specialized testing, but this is where now we start moving into all the type of modeling. For example, brand effect. Do you know that you're going to do nothing, no spending in marketing, no admissions office, open the application, you know what you're going to get? Applications. Because you have a brand, unless you open up a shop yesterday, right? You will get applications. That's called brand effect. You will not get the growth that you want. So there's something about called incrementality. And this is where your dollars come in. Having the opportunity to start looking into what's called brand lift studies kind of give you the sense of, if I were to move dollars and cents and money, how much incrementality am I going to get? Match market testing. A very interesting technique I did not know we can do, where you actually start doing an event somewhere else, and you invest in an event in a city. I'm just giving you a hypothesis that looks the same. So let's say Raleigh, North Carolina, and then I'm going to find another city, say Charlotte, right, South Carolina, right? You do the same event. You compare the 2 events, And then you realize, oh my gosh, indeed, here I get better return on investment. We never had this type of experimentation. These are really interesting, sophisticated type of testings, but it allows you to come and say, geographically, I have a presence in Brooklyn, New York. A lot of us continue to work on intuition because it worked last year or the year before. I keep on replicating my event planning, and geographically, you do the same thing. Last but not least, today is very easy. It takes time, it takes technical chops for you to do what is called mixed marketing modeling, to really understand what is the lever that a platform like Facebook has on applications or prospects or enrollments. You have the data. If you have Element, you have the data. You probably have some type of tracking mechanism, whether it could be Excel or not. You have the ability to come and model and extract this and say, Facebook is the most effective channel versus LinkedIn, newspaper ads, events. Having the opportunity to come and rank your channels and understand that for every dollar spent, this is how it gets attributed to all your channels. It's basically what this technique allows us to do. So my basically punchline here is that this is how you start doing learning, right? Should I move money from Facebook to Instagram? Should I not have a social media play at all and continue to do apps? Unless you test it and you have an intentional deployment, it will be very hard for you to start doing this. We're at time. And I got maybe 5 more slides to go, but I'll stop. Are there any questions?